Let's look at the poem Alabanza in praise of the local 100. And the title Alabanza is a word for praise. And it tells us right in the italicized writing before the poem that this is for the 43 members of hotel employees and restaurant employees, local 100, working at the windows on the World Restaurant who lost their lives in the attack at the World Trade Center. So we already know that at the top of the World Trade Center was a restaurant and it overlooked the city, and those who were working up there could not make it out safely during the attacks. So this is a poem to remember and praise them. Albanza, praise the cook with a shaven head and a tattoo on his shoulder that said "Oi." A blue-eyed Puerto Rican with people from Fajardo, the harbor of pirates century ago. Praise the lighthouse in Fajardo's candle, glimmering white, to worship the dark saint of the sea. Albanza, praise the cook's yellow pirate's cap, worn in the name of Roberto Clemente, his plane that flamed into the ocean, loaded with cans for Nicaragua, for all the mouths chewing the ash of earthquakes. Albanza, praise the kitchen radio, dial clock clicked even before the dial on the oven, so that music and Spanish rose before bread. Praise the bread, Albanza. So right in that first stanza, we're seeing praise for the cook that was there. We're seeing praise for the lighthouse, the candle glimmering white to worship the dark saint of the sea. We're praising the cook's yellow pirate's cap, worn in the name of Roberto Clemente. We're seeing praise for the kitchen radio. All of these praises, the bread, we're recognizing, remembering, thanking. Stanza 2 goes on to say, praise Manhattan from 107 flights up, like Atlantis glimpsed through the windows of an ancient aquarium. Praise the great windows where immigrants from the kitchen could squint and almost see their world. Hear the chant of nations, Ecuador, Mexico, Republica Dominican, Haiti, Yemen, Ghana, Bangladesh, Albanza. Praise the kitchen in the morning, where the gas burned blue on every stove, and the exhaust fans fired their diminutive propellers. Hands cracked eggs with quick thumbs, or sliced open cartons to build an altar of cans. Albanza, praise the busboy's music, the chime of his dishes and silverware in the tub. So now we're getting praises. We're being put into this restaurant, 107 flights up. We're seeing a comparison to Atlantis. We're praising all of these immigrants who came from all these different places. We're praising the kitchen when it's making breakfast in the morning and people are busy cracking eggs quickly. Even the busboy's music of his plates and silverware in the tub. All of this is being, an image is put into our minds, and it's being remembered and praised. Albanza, praise the dish dog, the dishwasher, who worked that morning because another dishwasher could not stop coughing, or because he needed overtime to pile the sacks of rice and beans for a family floating away on some Caribbean island plagued by frogs. Albanza praised the waitress who heard the radio in the kitchen and sang to herself about a man gone. Albanza. So now we're realizing that people came in because they needed overtime to help their family. People came in because other people couldn't make it, and we're praising them and thanking them. All these people make our nation. The next stanza. After the thunder, wilder than thunder. After the shudder deep in the glass of the great windows. After the radio stopped singing like a tree full of terrified frogs. After night burst the dam of day and flooded the kitchen. For a time, the stoves glowed in darkness, like the lighthouse in Fajardo, like a cook's soul. Soul, I say, even if the dead cannot tell us about the bristles of God's beard, because God has no face. Soul, I say, to name the smoke beings flung in constellations across the night sky of the city and city succumb. Albanza, I say, even if God has no face. So now we're taking these people and we're looking at what happened to them and the effects of this attack. And we're continuing to praise them and all that they did. And we're seeing um, what they went through and how strong and courageous they were. It goes on to say, Albanza, when the war began from Manhattan and Kabul, two constellations of smoke rose and drifted to each other, mingling in the icy air. And one said with an Afghan tongue, "Teach me to dance, we have no music here." And the other said with a Spanish tongue, "I will teach you. Music is all we have." Really strong ending there. Think of the ending and what that means. What does that say to you? This poem is in a remembrance of all these workers, where they come from, who they are, what they represent. And 9/11 is a time that we remember all the people who passed and all these courageous firefighters, police officers. But this poem is focusing on these workers who came here to this country and were working up on that top floor. And we're working hard to make people happy at the restaurant. And we're remembering and getting glimpses of who these people were, for who they are remembered too.